Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlan, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters, also known as VRTrader.com. He's speaking to us from Arizona. Welcome back to the show, Mark.
My pleasure, Jim. Thank you for having me.
Mark, do you have any explanation about why the Dow is doing so well after the S&P and NASDAQ were the darlings of the stock market not all that long ago?
Well, a couple components have really taken off. I mean, for example, Disney went over $200 a share a couple days ago, just as an example. And, you've had stocks like Boeing suddenly starting to flare up and come back. So some of the components help, but the truth is, it's sort of painting a conflicting picture, because if you go look at other indexes, for example, the NASDAQ 100, which was really the darling of the market, it's well off its highs, though it has come back here a little bit. The total stock market index, which I track, ticker symbol VTI, which theoretically represents all stocks, I don't think quite has made a new high yet. It's lagging. It still hasn't made a new high. I'm just checking the chart as I'm talking. I don't know. It's easy to manipulate 30 stocks. That's the best answer I can give you in the Dow. It's so widely followed and quoted what the market is doing. It's up or down today. People generally don't talk in terms of the NASDAQ or the Russell, which has also been a strong performer this past year, or the S&P, I guess, comes in a close second to the Dow. But you got a couple strong components in there, and that's sort of moving it higher. But we have hit what I thought and had predicted might come, though it didn't come to the extent that I was hoping for or thinking it would. A March low. We had the vernal equinox coming up ahead, but generally we get some type of low in March. We did last year, if you remember, though this time not as dramatic as that time. And, the cycles were pointing down, but I said, it would look, I was cautious, as you know, in previous interviews, looking for a February, March correction. It looks like it's behind us. Now the question is, if we do break out in all the indexes, is it the next big point? And I think we talked about this last week. Is the next big point sell May, go away? So we hit a March low, rally into April, May, and then start coming down again into the fall, which is what I think could happen. So there might be a little bit more fireworks here, perhaps, to the upside. But overall, I'm cautious, but I recognize we hit a March low, and we were trading accordingly, and we'll see how far it takes us here.
Well, the first day of spring is Saturday the 20th. Do you expect anything big to happen around then? Because
I think it's already happened, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
You can talk about the Ides of March coming up,
yeah,
maybe, if you want to go to historic stuff, but you sort of paint with a broad brush here with this stuff. You're going to get some type of correction, generally from early February, where I talk about the Groundhog Day effect. If you go back and look around Groundhog Day, February 2nd, historically, a couple of weeks either side of that, there's often a correction, and then you've got the vernal equinox and just stuff going on this time of year or so. It could be huge like last year or minor this year. So, but for the most part, I'm just taking it day at a time, and I don't think well, there was a report here. I was pulling it up just a few moments ago about some solar sunspot activity, and if I could find that for you, there's something brewing up there that might be of some interest. It doesn't always affect the affect the stock market, though we could argue that there is some there's some correlation. I just can't pull it up as we're doing the interview, but there's something going on with the solar flares or something supposed to hit in the next 3 days, affect the Earth's atmosphere in some way. And there have been some correlations. In fact, there's been many correlations over the decades with solar activity and weather on the planet, electromagnetic interference, and so forth. I did find the story here as we're rambling. It's called a co-rotating interaction region. So they say it's called a CIR, which could hit Earth's magnetic field March 13th. They're transition zones between slow and fast-moving solar wind streams. So that's coming up in a couple of days, whether that's going to impact the market or anything. I watch all this kind of stuff because nobody really does or believes in it or thinks that, for some reason they think, everything around us surrounds us, be our grocery shopping and the weather, just that we can observe around us and our day-to-day activities, and keep forgetting that we're sitting on this planet in the middle of a very big universe that has a lot of forces that affect us in ways that we just never really want to accept or recognize. Even something simple like the moon having an effect on our tides and effect on our human bodies, which are mostly water, and seasonal changes and all this kind of cool stuff. And of course, my astrologer friends will tell you how the position of the planets do affect us in ways that the scientists won't admit, though they're coming, I think, to realize there's been more relationship between the planets and us than they would have in the past. There's some studies coming out now that do indicate there is something. And they call it a pseudoscience, but it's been around for thousands of years, so there's obviously some merit to it. Whether it's 50% accurate or 20% accurate, there's some merit there. So I look at all this cool, fun stuff, which, and of course the very short-term stuff like the lunar patterns, the full moon and the quarter moons and the new moons, and we have, sometimes lows and highs. In fact, I document this in the newsletter for people who get the newsletter. I'll point out you've got a lunar cycle coming up. It might be within a day or two coincident with a lower high in the market, and often it is, particularly if you're overbought or oversold at that point. So they don't talk about this or read about it in the Wall Street Journal or in on financial stuff, because the market. It's the market, and nothing can affect the market, so why even talk about this other stuff? But I do feel there is some effect. So the fact that I called last year for a sell-off into March, a big one, and again this year, and based on cyclical patterns, tells me that I know a lot more, or others are not admitting that they know what I know. So it's important to pay attention to this stuff.
Well, in the late 1800s, there was a solar flare, solar magnetic event that knocked out all the telegraph lines. Now, telegraphs were virtually the only electric thing on Earth at the time that people noticed, and I think there's still a fear that at some point our whole electrical grid and all of our computers and so on would crash because of another gigantic magnetic storm from the sun.
Right, and I watch these things. I see them on my screen. There's a Foundation for the Study of Cycles you can also go to and look at their research about a lot of these solar and other patterns out there. I mean, one day you just get hit with something and your mouth's hanging open and you don't understand how something like this could have happened. And of course, the dinosaurs will talk to you about the asteroid that killed them, but there's always something that we just can't expect or explain. And the volcanic activity I keep an eye on too. I get notices. I'm on the list for any volcanic activity on the planet. It's on this other website you can go to. There's a little bit of activity going on in Hawaii now, but nothing dramatic. But all this stuff could lead into tsunamis and earthquakes and all kinds of dislocations that change lives in a major way. The stuff like the fires in California and all this stuff, we sort of dismiss it, but these are these are just not arbitrary events. They're cyclical events. They're caused by some outside forces, and hopefully they're not man-made. They're natural, but some even attribute some of those disasters to man-made experiments of some kind, including some laser beaming systems that supposedly exist on satellites that are around the planet that are controlled by the military, that are shooting these beams down and doing some tests and sometimes cause fires and destroy property. And I actually have seen videos of some of these beams supposedly coming down and creating disasters in different parts of the world. So there's stuff going on that you don't want to talk about because people think you're nuts, but there's stuff going on. There's secret experiments going on, military stuff going on, including the secret space program, which I write about all the time. that, people just say, oh, well, I still have my job and I still get paid this week and there's food on the table and my kids are in school and I guess my retirement plan is moving up with the market, so why should I worry about any of this other stuff? So, I enjoy worrying about this other stuff because I don't think the reality that we're in day to day is the real reality. And we've learned this past year with the COVID event, Jim. I mean, this was a contrived event, and it was used and continues to be used to control population and to, detract from our freedoms. And my fear is there's more coming. And this is part of a bigger plan, and a lot of other writers are writing about the Grand Reset and all this other fun stuff that's going on. But these are controlled situations. These are just not things that just happen. Some bat got out of some cage in Wuhan, and suddenly the whole world is sick. I mean, this is all part of it. So there's military stuff going on, social stuff going on, and we're just like sort of pawns in this whole thing. And the fact I laugh every day when I see people walking around with masks and worrying about the vaccines and all this stuff, and they don't realize they're being controlled and they're being set up. There's something else probably coming. There's something that'll probably change our freedoms even more than the restrictions that have been imposed on us up to this point. And a good way to cover all this up is to let the equity markets go up, let your house go up in value, let people make money. See, when you make money, people sort of forget about everything. If the stock market is crashing and they're losing money and they lost their jobs, then there's civil unrest and there's riots and all kinds of stuff. We don't want stuff like that, so we make sure that we print a lot of money, like the new bill that just went through Congress down here, get checks into everybody's pockets, keep the stock market high so everybody's portfolio is doing well, drive real estate higher so everybody's house is worth more. So, we're making money, everything is good. I'm not going to worry about wearing a mask or taking a shot. Who cares about that? But if the other thing was happening, it would change completely. So, I'm a real cynic when it comes to this stuff. I've been around many decades in the markets. I'm a student of history, which unfortunately most people aren't. They forget that history does repeat on a certain level, and they just forget that governments are not there to be our friends. They're our enemies. That's why we're given the rights here in the U.S. to have arms, so we protect ourselves against the government that could possibly take our freedoms from us. People don't understand that. They think, guns are bad. Gotta get rid of guns. They're there so that we can protect ourselves against the government. The government's not our friend. So on and on and on. This is the kind of world Mark Leibovit lives in. I look at the market, I look at these so-called conspiracy theories, but they are real things going on out there, but not given much coverage by the press. And why? Because they don't want to get into trouble. They don't want the government coming after them. So, or they're playing with them, or both. And more than likely, they're making money in the process. Follow the dollar. I guess money, they're being stooped cash somewhere, so they keep their mouth shut and do what they're told to do. They do what they're told. I guess that could be the bottom line of all this stuff. So, we're having fun today, Jim, just talking about a lot of stuff. People listening to this must say, how do we make money in the market? Well, you make money if you want to make money in the market. Either you buy and hold, and live forever, because even though we come down, we tend to come up because the governments want to keep inflating stuff. Or you do as I do. I try to trade a little bit and use the market as a way of generating cash flow for trading purposes, as a way of making a living, so to speak. When I was on the floor decades ago, the guys that I used to work with said, this is a job. We come in every day, we pull some cash out of the market, we close our positions out, we take our check, this is our payroll, we come in the next day and we look for a little way to make some cash, make some money, and that's what this is all about. It's like a kitty, and you put your hand into the kitty, take the money out, put it in your pocket, come back, look to take some more out, and it becomes like, a form of payroll for you. So if you can follow and trade the markets, it becomes, a little, this is how you can make your living. So you can do it that way, or if you want to be a long-term investor and just hold Tesla forever and hope that it goes to $20,000 dollars a share, or Bitcoin, it goes to $200,000-$300,000. You can bet on that too, or you can do as I would prefer to do, is trade this stuff. So, putting that together with all these other theories that I've thrown out at you is sort of how I function in this crazy, manipulated world that unfortunately we're all living in.
The solar storm that we were talking about was called the Carrington event. It was in September 1859. It knocked out all the telegraphs around the world and caused auroras that were seen as far south as Hawaii. So, yeah, it could happen again.
Right, and man-made stuff, too. I mean, I've talked about this to some engineering people, and they sort of dismiss it. But, you know, radio waves came in around the turn of the 20th century, and, of course, you had the big virus epidemic in 1918, and you see as that we start getting into 3G, 4G, 5G type transmissions, microwave radiation, satellites beaming stuff down around us, why people get sick. I mean, we're exposed to all this crap that's being forced upon us, and I'm convinced that part of the COVID experience is because of the electromagnetic radiation or other radiation. Either it's 4G or some people think it's the new 5G that's out there. So, you know, whether it's a solar event or a man-made pollution, which is really bombarding us everywhere, we really have to fight for our health. So, you know, you got to be thinking about how, you know, we're fighting all this stuff that we can't really control. Wi-Fi in your house, people think, oh, this is great, I got Wi-Fi in all the rooms. Meanwhile, their brains are being fried by the radiation floating around their house. Cell phones were shown back in the 1980s that they could cause brain cancer, and that was covered up really well. You know, if you have you keep a cell phone as far away from your body as you possibly can, but you're still getting exposed to all this other stuff around you. So, you know, it's just crazy out there. I mean, you know, we just have to fight to survive, I'm telling you. And people who get sick, you know, getting sick because of forces they have no control of, or possibly because of nutritional deficiency, lack of exercise, eating the right foods, and so forth, too, which unfortunately is not really being discussed when Dr. Fauci and all these other people get on television and tell you to wear double or triple masks. Instead of telling you that, they should talk about how you can defend yourself against, you know, viruses and bacteria by doing other things to strengthen your body, you know. So it's crazy out there, you know. That's the story.
We'll have more with Mark Leibovit right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mark Leibovit. Mark, crude has charged up to $66 a barrel. Is this going to continue?
You know, it's a good question. I was bullish on crude. You know, we talked about this in previous interviews. We're currently not long. I have a feeling that there's possibly more coming. I don't see anything yet that says it's turned down. It is extended. I'm not really a great enthusiast about buying it up here. You know, we've been trading it on the long side for months. It might surprise people. You know, what if there's an invasion of Taiwan? What if the Iranian thing blows up, or Israel decides to bomb some nuclear facilities? What if, you know, maybe that's what oil is anticipating. Maybe there's going to be a big, big shortage. And, of course, having the Keystone Pipeline cut off, that was no big help to the oil market. You know, all the idiots on the left who think that we don't need crude oil anymore forget that you need crude oil for components for all the various devices that are supposedly make us energy independent. So we're not getting out of oil so fast. And there's a good friend of mine who does cycle analysis, and over the next couple of decades, he sees crude oil like $450 a barrel, some incredible number, which would really surprise all those out there who want to get rid of the cows and get rid of the airplanes and get rid of everything that supposedly is polluting the world. So we're oil dependent for a lot of reasons, and to answer your question here, I'm not shorting it. I think it's a little extended, but there still seems to be an uptrend, you know, in place. So my feeling is if we did get a little shakeout here, it's probably another buy again. So let's see if we get a little bit of a pullback. If I was long from way back, you know, in the lows from last year, I would just stay with it.
We'll have more with Mark Leibovit right after this.
Aben Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF.
surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines. Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're chatting with Mark Leibovit. Mark, the president signed the $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill, and a survey of millennials found around half of them plan to spend their relief check on the stock market. Is it a wise investment?
I hope they buy a couple of the stocks that I'm trading that would be impacted by that. I mean, one of the big stories, of course, has been GameStop, GME. And I laugh about it because my charts had some really great trades here, but I just, we were in it like when it was $20 a share and I got out. I mean, the thing ran, that's 300-400, and then it was down 5 points today. 260, supposedly the company is worthless because it's got a big short interest, and these, again, the Reddit and the Wall Street group and the Robinhood group, keep playing this stuff, and they seem to, to answer your question, they might do it. I read yesterday one of our stocks that we do have on our list that we trade and hold as well, Sundial, which is a Canadian company, Vancouver company in the marijuana business. It's a dollar stock, ticker symbol SNDL on the U.S. market. I read yesterday that according to what I read, it's the largest holding among the Robinhood young investors, the top of their list of all their stocks that they have positions in. And if you look back over the last year or so, I saw a list the other day of the ones that were like at the top of the list, the top 5-6 names. They all have done well. And I remember even one of their favorites was Ford Motor about a year ago when it was $4, $5, $6 a share and it doubled. So they're not so dumb, and maybe they are. The money putting into work in the market might be the best thing rather than go out and have a party somewhere and blow a lot of money, in other ways. So yes, that could be a source of ammunition for more of this activity. I'm very supportive of it. I mean, it's a free market. Trade it as much as you can. Have fun with it if you can as well. That makes it even more exciting versus going to Vegas or some other place where the odds are really against you. Here you can look at charts and try to control your destiny a little bit if you're smart about it. You learn a little bit about technical analysis, which, some call me one of the leading experts at, but, I'm one of many. I don't think I'm the best by any stretch, but I'm pretty good at it. You find these little retracement points to get in and these little resistance areas to sell and get out or go short, and nothing's 100%, but, it's all there in front of you on the charts. So if these kids can, somehow learn a little bit about charting techniques and how these stocks move up and down, GME, as an example. I mean, I'm just looking at the chart now. I mean, this thing had some great swing opportunities in it here in the last couple of weeks, even if we're an expensive stock. I mean, you can buy one share. You don't have to go out and buy, 100 shares. But, this thing, drops from 400, and that's the number I was looking for, $483 down to $40, and then generates what I call a volume reversal right off the low, which was about 10 days ago. And the thing skyrockets and goes up to 184 from 40, pulls back a couple days, and then skyrockets to $348 a share, and then started to pull back again. So, I mean, this was based on just looking at a chart pattern. I'm not saying I would have caught that whole move, but looking at the chart pattern here, I mean, there was a good $100 profit, 100 points in that stock if you used your brains and look at the chart and, you bought yourself one share, you could have made yourself $100. So, whatever. There's a lot of fun out there, and long-winded response. I hope the kids do get involved in this stuff and keeps them off the streets, and they might learn how to make money and survive in all kinds of markets and economic conditions. Because if you have the stock market, Jim, you don't care what's going on out there outside of war. I mean, obviously, if they start bombing us, then it's a whole other situation. But even with the virus, people were able to go into their house and to shelter themselves and trade the market and make a good living doing it. So, more power to them.
Can you remind our listeners again about your special offer?
Yeah, we're running out of time. We changed a little bit. It's 2021 quarter off, 2021 QUARTER off. So 2021 quarter off. You get 25% off any of our newsletters. There's a whole bunch of up on the screen. So I would encourage you to check it out, folks. There's some nice trades there, and if you're looking to make a little bit of money and trade some stocks, you'll see some nice ideas that we pull out of our hats every couple of days. Thank you for asking, Jim.
Thanks for being on the show, Mark.
My pleasure.
My guest has been Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters, also known as vrtrader.com. If you have any questions for Mark or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Our YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter @HowStreet. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.